the way humans just treat animals overall is not good. They don't treat them in a good way.
Do you have any idea of what veganism is?
Sort of. I think it's mostly like not eating animal products, but that's like sort of all I know.
All right. I mean, that is a part of it. That's the consequence of veganism. So veganism is essentially the idea that humans should live without exploiting other animals. So essentially, vegans see animals as individuals instead of like, products, resources, or objects even. We see animals as individuals with their own purpose. With that definition in mind, veganism meaning humans should live without exploiting other animals. What would stop you from going vegan?
I think the things that would stop me from going vegan is mostly my diet. I eat mostly chicken and meats, but also the fact that I don't really see the perks and I don't really see the reason for going vegan, since I don't really see animals as individuals per se.
What do you mean by animals are not individuals?
Well, I personally think that they're not really capable of thinking as individuals, and that they're sort of lesser beings, by saying that, for example, cows, chickens, they don't really understand what they're doing there. They're like really primitive. But I think that being a vegan necessarily doesn't really help, since most of the world isn't vegan, and I wouldn't really say that it's exploiting them, since we've been doing it for hundreds of years and thousands of years, and that it's not really morally wrong per se, but sort of mistreating them, I would say it's pretty wrong.
So you recognize that animals are capable of feeling pain and distress, right? Because you care about their well-being. Of course, abuse and exploitation, they go interchangeably, because when you exploit someone, when you use someone for your own benefit, for your own selfish purpose, without thinking about the other individual, there is a form of abuse there. We humans, we are animals, right? So to say that animals are not individuals, if they are not individuals, what are they? Are they objects? Are they like a chair, right?
I wouldn't really say that they're objects going that far. I would say that they're mostly just there, since they aren't really capable of thinking by themselves, since they're really just animals. But I do believe that they can feel pain, and keeping them in like a hen house with like really cramped, I would say that is animal abuse. But going as far as saying that it's like completely wrong with eating animals, I think that's a bit too far.
Because it's not essential for us to eat meat. We don't need it to survive. We don't even need it to thrive or to be healthy. Doing something harmful or being violent unnecessarily is what is wrong, right? That is violence, that is immoral, because I don't have to do it. Do you understand?
I do see your points, but I do still believe that at the end of the day we are superior, which sort of...
In what way?
In our capabilities, for example, building all of this, exploiting them in a very bad way, but we are superior by just being us, since we are capable of putting them in hen houses and abusing them. And I believe that if the roles were switched, that we were just sort of stupid animals, we would be the ones in the hen house, for example.
I mean, that turns the question about might makes right. So that means because you can do something, you can physically do something, means it's all right to do. Do you really believe that? Because, for example, men are physically more they are stronger than women. They have a lot of much power and privilege. Does that mean that they can use that power to hurt other people?
No.
No, right? Because it's not about what you can do, it's about what's the right thing to do. Like, an animal wants to live, and animals have their own desires and their own purposes, right? We have to regard their interests. So, you said before, we have done it for thousands of years.
Yes.
But because an action has been done for thousands of years doesn't mean it's okay to do it right now, right? Because we have done things part of our culture, right? Women couldn't vote. Slavery was legal and part of culture. And we have done it for thousands of years. But does that mean that slavery is okay? No, of course not, right?
Yes. I do see your point, but since like the aspect of us being done this for like thousands of years, I think it would be hard for us to go back to like just eating plants and being a vegan.
We can at least like find a common ground that animals are individuals, because I feel like you are talking about like abuse, and you're talking about it's bad that they're crammed up in a warehouse, that you're seeing them as individuals. If I go and say, but they're not individuals, do you really use that framework when you go out and find other animals? Like, for example, if you come across a dog, do you really think that, they're so inferior, I can do whatever I want with this dog? Is that really your reasoning? Not really, right? No.
I think I would stand by thinking that animals aren't individuals, but...
Sorry, what did you say?
Animals aren't individuals, but I still think that it's not acceptable to mistreat them. But for example, dogs are like nowadays it's not acceptable to eat dogs and cats, for example.
Why is it not acceptable to eat dogs?
Because people believe that dogs are sort of, I think, superior to other animals, and that they treat them more as a friend or a pet compared to a cow.
And in a different culture, of course, they eat cats and dogs and guinea pigs. So it's really just culture. So depending on where you are in the world and at what time period, you see them as pets. Does that mean if people go around and have like pigs as pets, would you stop exploiting pigs or other animals?
I think that in a different universe, maybe, where pigs were seen more as pets and dogs were seen as just animals that people would eat, it would be not like socially acceptable to eat pigs. But since they are a part of our culture nowadays, it's just not acceptable, and they view it in a different way. And
does culture dictate morality, is what I'm getting at. Does culture... Yes, but in your day-to-day life, do you think culture should dictate morality?
No. Because in some cultures, for example, it's okay for people to mistreat women or people to mistreat animals. But I don't think that culture should be the reason why we behave as we do.
Right, so we should change. Just because something is cultural does not mean it's all right. Is there really something physically preventing you from going vegan?
I would be okay with using vegan products and being on a vegan diet, but I think at the end of the day, it comes to a personal preference. For example, I personally enjoy eating meats and cows and chicken and all of that. Yeah. So I think it's hard for people to change.
Does taste, is that a good justification, a good reason to exploit other animals, right? Because it really, taste is just a sensory pleasure. For example, I get sensory pleasure by hitting this person. Does that mean I can do that just because it gives me sensory pleasure?
Not really, but yet again, you can hit somebody legally if you perhaps join a boxing match or MMA.
Yeah, because that's with consent. Yes. But the animal here is not consenting, right? So it's great that you're honest and recognize that taste is not a good enough justification to exploit other animals. But you can just get something else. The animal cannot get another life, right?
That is true, but when we're talking about our pleasures and all of that, like you can't really recreate the taste of animals like cows and chicken in meat, which is I think that's a big part of the reason why people don't really go vegan and use vegan products.
I think it's because people are conditioned to, as you said before, it's culture, it's part of, like, everyone does it. But I'm not talking really about other people.
Yes.
Do you know what the number one benefit is of going vegan?
Maybe health and I don't know. I think mostly health and
that's a bonus
for the animals to go vegan.
Right, yes. Right. So for the animals, they will no longer be exploited because of you in your name, but a personal benefit for you would be that you will no longer have to be a hypocrite. Because when you say you respect animals, right? But then at the same time, you're disrespecting animals in the most like absurd ways by like exploiting them or wearing their skin or eating them. You're not respecting them, right?
Well, I wouldn't really go as far as calling myself a hypocrite. More just like recognizing the fact that animals are being mistreated.
But but why is it important, or what do you care about animals and if they get mistreated?
Couldn't really. I know it sounds bad, but I can't really say that I care like that much. But I'm just trying to recognize that they are being mistreated, and that the way humans just treat animals overall is not good. They don't treat them in a good way.
Yeah, but it feels like you have something at least that makes you think about the animal's perspective. So when you're one of the reasons that they are disrespected, that means that it's like you say something and then they do something else.
Yeah. I don't really got any more points to say, but I am gonna have to cut it short because I gotta go.